Hey, how's it going? This is Cadet David Farr and Daniel Grabher, and we're going to take you through our military and civilian financial planner. So first, we'll just take you through the average life of a West Point cadet. So we'll start out current rank 01. You can see all the options here. We'll go with the 5 and out plan. So 03, retire. We'll go my hometown 12520. Dependent status. We'll go with no kids at the 5-year mark. See how the pace switch over here at the BA8 gets dependent on whether or not you have children or dependents or not. We'll adjust the tax level. Then, so we're big savers. We'll go 17% to our TSP, through our savings plan. And then currently officer, click that. Years in service, so we're playing around doing 5. Projected years left in current years left in service. In service right now, we'll go 2. Years left, we'll go 5. Be 7 years total. So then our starting year for our GI Bill will be up to around 4. Retirement option, since we're in for less than 20, you probably want to do the TSP. You can see that change reflected in the final value right here. Then to our civilian job, you can see we have all these options right here. Alphabetical order. Can be a stonemason, statistician. We're big stats guys. We're big statistician. And then years. We'll go about 17 years on our civilian job. You can see all these values reflected over here. And these are just a summary of our initial deliverables. It shows where you're at right now in your career. So I'm going to pass over to Cadet Grabher, and he's going to talk about it a little more.
So Cadet Farr just talked about the demo, and I'm going to talk about more of the design of our thing. So in our military tab, we have our whole spreadsheet, which shows both our life cycle as an officer or as a enlisted personnel. So we'll go through the officer side first. The years that you start, so they chose to start at 2 years of service, and he expected to end after 5 years. So that's why at the 7th year, that's the last year that's functioning. After that, their retirements are 1. So that means they're no longer military active. So for this, they'll calculate all the way up from 2 to 7 years. They started as an 01, became an 02 after the 2nd year because it's only a year as an 01, and then retired as an 03 like they said. So things that were calculated were the base pay. That was an easy VLOOKUP value. The BAH was also calculated with and without, but since the user chose without, it only calculates this column. We chose that he was going to be a flight or an aviation pilot, so he gets special pay. So the aviation special pay was inducted or put into the file also. Since he chose to have the GI Bill starting at the 4th year, it lasts for 36 months, so that's 3 years. So that's true for these 3 years, and that adds $20,000, which is the average salary for the GI Bill for those 3 years. So it summed up all the values for all the columns, but we only looked at these few values because these are the ones that during his military career were actually active being paid for. So from these values, we were able to calculate the MPV for his military career. Next was the MPV for his retirement, for his military retirement. So we've looked at both traditional and the TSP. Since traditional plan works only after 20 years, he would have made $0 if he chose to use this retirement plan, because he wouldn't have been after 20 years. So the TSP was the option to choose. So for this, he donated a certain percentage of money, whether it was 10% to 15%, I don't know, whatever he chose. And from that, he built up money every year. And the same thing we did before, we took the MPV of this value to help conduct the military retirement's net present value. Finally was the civilian career. So for his civilian career, it started the year after he left the military career, and I think he put 17 years. So for 17 years, he was a statistician, and he made all this for 17 years. So that was just his basic civilian pay, and then we took the net present value of that. And then finally, his civilian retirement, which also worked like a TSP. So for every year, he donated a certain percentage of his money to the civilian retirement account. All that together, we got MPV, the 4 MPVs for those 4 columns, and the true MPV was just the sum of all these 4. So his final MPV, this gave us, he made $1.7 million as a final MPV, and that's how our model worked. To verify it, we looked through it multiple times, and we made sure that we tried plugging in different values and made sure that the function still worked. For our validation, different cadets worked on it. They tried to see just if it would work for them. They didn't really put many inputs. They just tried to click different things, and anything bugs that came up, we just quickly fixed on the spot. Our suggested future work, we could add more columns to our work. So this is our base model right now. We could add different things like included different special pays would be another option, or different kinds of more civilian jobs or more specific civilian jobs, including promotions and stuff. So finally, for our documentation, we used these three sources. The middle source is important because that's where we got our civilian pays from. The top source shows our BAH, and the bottom source helps explain our GI bills. All right, thank you for your time.